Alright, welcome back. So, I've gone ahead and done this side piece of the control deck over here, and now I'm going to go ahead and do this side, and then we'll close off the front, and then we'll call the construction on the control deck complete. And then the last couple things we'll do is we're going to go ahead and take this and take it up and then put a support in. I'm also going to put a support underneath the control deck on the back side, so that has another place to actually connect to, so that you can't push down on it and then it'll come loose or something. So that's what I'm going to do next. So here we go. So the first thing I need to do is go ahead and measure the distance from the side of the cabinet to the end, which is right about 6 inches. So it's 6, and so it's a little bit longer right here, which is fine, so I'll sand that down. But it's on the shortest point, it's 6 inches, and it's about 6 inches and an 8 or a 16th, 6 and a 16th on the bottom. So that's fine. I'll make it 6 inches, and then I'll do some sanding and sand down, the little excess that'll be there. So that'll be easy. So that's another thing we'll do today, is some sanding. So I'm basically going to take one of the pieces that I have laying around, one of the spare pieces, like this one, and I'm going to do my measurements on it. So I'm going to measure out 6 inches on it first. Well, tell you what, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it over the miter saw, cut 2 straight edges on it, and that'll make it easier for me to do the actual cuts. So I got my 5x6 piece here, and that should go right on, fit no problem, and it does. So like I expected, I have a little bit of extra here, which is perfectly fine. I'll sand that down and it won't be noticeable at all. Now what I do want to be certain about is that if I have to do any sanding, I want to do it in a spot where it's not going to contact any screws. So I do have a little bit of an overhang here on this side as well. Again, sanding won't be a problem, but I just want to make sure that all the sides that need to be sanded are going to be the sides that have plenty of excess. So with that there, I'm going to go ahead and grab my drill, which I've got here, and my screws, which I've got here. And we're going to put 2 screws in the side to hold that in place. So that's in there good. And now I'm going to work on the piece for the support in there that I mentioned. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a line along here and along here. And then I'm going to pull this whole piece out. So when it's done, this is going to be kind of cool also, because I'll be able to take out 2 screws and then I'll be able to slide this whole control portion out. This is where all the electronics are going to be. And I'll show you how I'm going to mount them like after I get everything together. But for now, just trust me. So since I know that those boards are 1/2 inch and I have measured them, I can basically take my measuring tape here, find 1/2 inch and mark it on both sides. About there, here. All right. And now all I gotta do is go ahead and put in my 2x4 pieces. So I've got some pieces of 2x4 that are already ready to go. So I'm just going to go grab those and we'll get started. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and take out these screws. So these are more or less temporary. So they're just there to kind of hold the board in place while I was getting everything together. And because I was too lazy to put those 2x4s in earlier. So there we go. So I'm gonna go grab those 2x4s and we'll get started. Alright, so I got my 2x4s ready, but just so I can make sure I have a good straight level line to put them up against, I'm gonna make 2 marks instead of just the one. One gives me a reference, 2 gives me a good solid idea of where my line's gotta be. So I'm gonna mark the same way I did the other ones, just a 1/2 inch. That way I've got 2 points to look at when I'm trying to line up my boards. Okay. Now I wasn't aiming for any particular size with these. Pretty much just going to put them anywhere in here that that fills the gap. So if they didn't fit, I would just take a little bit more off with the miter and we'd move on. But they're in good shape, so we'll move forward. What I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out a location where the board is going to be, and then on the back side, or really the outside, I'm going to prepare a hole screw. Oh, damn it. Looks like here will be good. So I'm going to put a screw in, and that will be ready to go once I stop losing my place. That should be good. Yep, good. I went through all the way just so I could tell that that was going to make contact where I wanted. Alright, so now I'm just going to hold this board in place where I want it. And then screw it in. And I'll get a second screw in on the other end to hold that in place firmly. And then just a third one for good measure. So that's in there. One side done, one more side to go. Alright, good, good, good. So that's in there, and now all I gotta do is lay my 2 pieces in, and we're set. Or lay my 1 piece in, really. So, it's making good contact, yep. That's making good contact. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put in 2 screws. That's all I really need on each side. And that'll hold that in place so that I can work on this properly. Alright, so as I went to put on the front piece, or take the measurements for the front piece rather, I realized that I had made a very stupid mistake. And that mistake is that here, this distance here is going to be about 2 feet, which is really as long as the board is that I have. So, essentially, the good news is I've got this 2 foot by 2 foot piece right here left over, which I was going to have to cut into pieces for this front piece anyway. So what I'll do is I'll cut the size that I need for this front piece, which is basically just going to be the width of this, and then I'll make 2 new side pieces and screw them in because, you know, reasons, it'll make it easy. So basically I'm just redoing these 2 pieces so that I have enough overhang so that they cover the sides, and you'll see what I mean after I do it. So without further explanation, I'm going to get started. So I need to go ahead and measure up this right here, still 5 inches. So I just need to get a 5-inch slice of this board right here so that I can put it right on there. So I will go ahead and take this to the table saw and get it cut, and I'll be back with a nice 5-inch board that I'll use to put over the front. So as I went to cut that piece, I realized that I have a nice, perfectly good piece of 1/2-inch oak that I was just sitting right there. And while oak is a lot harder and more sturdy, it's not gonna matter because I'll just paint over it anyway. So I'm just gonna paint the dang thing, and it's the right length, so I don't have to mess with the other pieces. So the other thing I need to do before I put that on is I need to do a little bit of sanding just to prep all this, and that'll be pretty much it. So I'm gonna get that done, and then I'll put the front on, and then we'll be done with the construction aside from this one last little bit. So here we go. Let me go get my sander. All right, so I'm starting off with an 80 grit sanding pad here. These are actually kind of cool. They're like a webbing type thing, and they last a bit longer than your typical sanding pads. So worth checking out. They're not, you know, they're a little bit different than your typical sandpaper, but they last longer. So worth using. So anyway, here we go. So I'm just going to use a nice 80 grit here to take off all the material quickly, and I'm going to get this down to where everything's even pretty much. Okay, so all of the sanding is complete for now. I'm going to need to do a little bit more once I get through, what's the word I'm looking for? I'll need to do a little bit more once I get done with some of the other stuff. Anyhow, so one thing that you gotta do differently when you're working with something like oak, a hardwood, is that you gotta drill pilot holes. So unlike this MDF where I didn't have to do that, with this I will have to drill some pilot holes just to make sure that it doesn't split when I put screws in, and also when I try to sink them in a little bit, because if you try to sink in into oak, especially this 1/2-inch oak, it's gonna split the wood. So I gotta get some good pilot holes in here, and that'll really make everything simple. Now I'm holding the board up on top of it so that I can see, like right here, I can see that there's a 2x4. So now with the board there, it makes it very easy to figure out if I'm in the right zone for where I'm drilling my holes. Without. This is one of my customly sharp drill bits, so it goes through real easy. Alright, so that's good. Do 2 more. So my pieces are on good and tight, and that's pretty solid. Only thing left that I want to do with this is take the sander to it again and just give it a good quick sanding. So, of course, I gotta get this screen put in. So, again, this is gonna be one of those things where I don't really care if it goes the whole way, if it's, perfectly straight or anything in there. I just need it to be long enough to hold the screen in place. And in fact, I don't want it to be that long anyway. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the screen piece in place. This way. Okay. So I'm going to put that in there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line all the way along the edges. Get that up against the edge there. Okay, so second one kind of sucked, but the first one was good. Okay, so I got a line here, and I'm basically going to take a couple 2x4s and just pop them in there, put them up against that, and then we should be good from there. Now I don't want them to be super long, because if I do that I won't be able to fit this back in there the way I did. I want to be able to tilt it and pull it out. Now, worth pointing out here, is once I get the actual piece screwed on, the easiest way to take this out is going to be to take these screws off the sides, then the whole thing will just shift out. So that's going to make things a lot easier, which is probably what I'll do when I go to put the screen in, is I'll do it that way, because then I'll be able to put the screen back in without having a whole lot of, weirdness going on. You'll get it when I do it, if I'm confused. So I'm going to line this one up, make it about the same height as the other one. Go ahead and put my other screw in. Good. Alright, there's one. Not to sink anymore. Not going any further. There's two. I've got the screen mount, or the screen piece in now. I got to do a little bit of sanding on it to get it evened out a little bit in a couple spots, because I did use a jigsaw to cut the thing. But yeah, I'm just going to do that and do a little bit of sanding. Next step is put a little bit of caulk on there. So I'm going to put a quick bead of caulk down and pretty much get started painting. So without further ado, here we go with some more sanding. So sanding's done. Now it's time to just run some caulk, a couple beads of caulk, and that'll pretty much do it as far as, it's like I have a small fire going somewhere. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to run just a little bit of caulk through a lot of the seams on here, just the ones that aren't going to be disconnected. Like right here, I'm going to leave that because that's going to eventually come off. Parts that are going to come off, I'm not going to caulk, but parts that are going to 100% come off at some point, for example, like the side panels come as a unit, so I'm going to take those off, or I'm going to put caulk those up, so that way it's all one contiguous piece. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll come back. I'm going to use white caulk because that's just what I happen to have on hand, and there's not much to it. If you've ever done caulk before, it's pretty much the same as anything else you put caulk on. So I've got a seam here, so I'm basically going to put down a bead of caulk, and then I'm going to slide across with my finger, and that's going to be it. So this is I think this is not silicone. I don't remember what type this is, but it's not silicone. It's another kind, and it works just as well as any other stuff. I don't remember what the hell this is made of. It's water-based, or it's waterproof, so or it's good, I guess. And I just gotta get it to start. Come on. There it goes. So, kind of put down a nice little bead. You're going to need to be a little bit thicker and heavy-handed in spots that have larger gaps, but in most places you can just do a thin line. And then what I'll do from here is just like I said, I'm just going to skim right across, and then some of the excess I'll put right back onto those gaps. But we'll skim across, skim across, skim across, and that'll be good. And then I'll do the same thing like on the front side where I've got a couple gaps in the panel right here, because this is the same piece, it's just there. And I'm just more or less kind of shaping how I want that to go. And you're probably, if you have like a large gap, you're going to come through and do this a second time. So anywhere you got a big gap, you're going to do this. You're going to do it, you know, more than once. So basically, once it's firm, solid, dried up, which probably takes about an hour, depending on the type you got, you'll just end up coming back across it, put another little coat down in the spots that aren't quite flat. And then do the same thing. On this side, on the back, the gap is actually on the back piece. So you can see that's quite a gap there. So I'm going to use a good amount to fill that in. Sometimes when you have older caulk like this, it's going to be kind of a pain to get it to come out. But there we go, and I'm just going to push that in and slide across. All right. Push in, slide across. So like this gap right here, I'm gonna have to come back to once this is all set and dry. This just needs a little bit of fixing up, a little bit of making it better, and then it'll be ready for paint and well, sanding and then paint, and then it's pretty much a done deal at that point. So I'll just need to put the actual electronics in. I'm thinking about doing some stuff where I put some hinges on a couple places to make access doors, because I would like to have some places where I can just kind of, I guess for lack of a better term, be able to, you know, store stuff. So yeah, that'll be pretty much that. I've got a hand with a little bit of caulk on it, so I gotta go wash that off. And that's pretty much it. So I'll see you on the next one. Again, if you're enjoying these videos, please like, subscribe, helps me out a lot. It'll make my life a little easier, it'll help me make more of these videos. Really want to get back to monetizing my videos, so I need 1,000 subscribers, which is why when I get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to go ahead and give away just a bunch of games. I'm saying about 10, there might be more. So I've got a whole list of Steam keys for stuff, and I'm just going to give, you know, 10 random people 10 random subscribers that I have. I'm going to give them their pick of whatever games I got, just, you know, one for each. And, you know, they're AAA titles like, I guess Kerbal Space Program is not really a AAA, but like Mafia 3 with all the DLC. I've got Jalopy, like I said, Kerbal Space Program. I've got a whole bunch of games. So if you're interested in that, please keep subscribed. Tell your friends. Let them come in, look at these videos if they're interested. And if they want to get a free game, they got a chance. Basically, 1 in 100 is pretty much what that is. 1 in 100 chance if I got 1,000 subscribers. So, thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time. And until then, try not to die.